Okay, folks, thanks for coming and joining me. Our guest who is in the green room right now, powdering up his face. You're
Oh
laughing.
gosh.
Why you laughing? Why you laughing?
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. So I have to apologize for the tardiness. I literally ran from one meeting to come here,
I
tried my best to reach
know.
on time,
And I will
and
vouch for
and
you.
you know,
I will vouch for you. You're not usually a late person at all. And I know this is something you wanted to be able to do. So I will vouch for
no,
you.
of
Right.
course. So and I was as you said, I was in the green room, so I was trying
Yes.
to look as pretty as possible.
No, you were here. It's not that you weren't here. It's not that you weren't here. But I mean, you were running from one meeting to the next meeting. And I know from having had
Yeah.
a conversation with your team there at FCB that you have another interview to run into not too long after this interview.
Oh
Oh, you
yes.
don't know?
So
So
they
I'm
telling
telling
me,
you.
but well, so they so what happened is I told them, so they told me that they were trying to arrange something for this afternoon. I told them, nah, Rhoda comes first.
Ooh.
So I told them try to push. I think we go way back.
A lot
So of
of
course you
people
always get
a lot of
priority.
people will not know that we go so far back, but is Jason, I was checking the other day, is
Oh my God.
26,
Oh, stop
26
checking.
years.
Stop checking. Oh my God.
Because I was
26
19.
years.
I was 19 when we met, and I'm 45 now, so it's 26 years. 26
Wow.
years, Jason.
Oh wow.
And you don't look any
Oh
older.
wow.
You don't
And
look any older at all.
no one realize. Well, you see, no one really need to increase your prescription on your lens.
And maybe I do. Maybe something is wrong with my lens, but in my mind, it's like, but Jason looks like the Jason I met on campus when I was 19. So yeah,
Oh,
26
oh
years,
gosh, mama
Jason.
guy, mama guy.
But let's put the how you look thing aside. You find or feel like
Right.
26 years passed? Does it feel like 26 years have passed?
No, no. I get reminders when so the other day, so Top Gun. So I went to see Top Gun Maverick,
Yes, yes.
and and then that's when I got a reminder that a lot of time has passed because I think the first Top Gun was 20 years ago.
Tread the first,
So
no,
it was
30.
it remi-
30 years ago.
nah,
The
like
first
no, oh God,
Top
oh
Gun
God,
came out in the 80s,
oh
Jason.
oh, oh my Lord,
It's either late 80s or very early 90s, so not
oh
20 years
Rhoda,
ago. 20 years ago, Jason,
oh gosh,
would have been 2002, right? 20 years ago was
oh yes. So
Top
true,
Gun is not this century. Top Gun is last century, Jason.
right?
Last
Yes.
century. Right, so
before
yes.
before the before we had broadband, we still had dial up. We had dial up.
Before the
Uh,
yes, before
before
broadband,
the,
before dial up, before cable in Trinidad, before many things, Jason.
before we could have done a live stream. So a lot has
a lot
happened.
a lot has happened. A lot has transpired,
Yeah.
right? So yes, so I'm thankful that you had the time, you made the time, and that you made me priority. But I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you
No.
have lots to do. So Jason, as
Yes.
I know now you are deputy CEO, group deputy CEO, and business developing business is part of your portfolio. Yes. Oh,
Yes. For sure.
how does this
Definitely
APO
for sure.
right? How does this APO work? What is supposed to be taking place with this APO? I know a fair amount from when I purchased under the IPO, but what's the real
Right.
difference?
Okay, great. So let me take one step back just to make sure everyone is on the same page,
Sure.
and that is what we're talking about is an opportunity, an offering of shares in First Citizens Group to the public. So I'm gonna this one because I always try to not assume that everyone understands the acronyms and the vocabulary because I personally find in finance could sound scary. So when I hear people's reactions, or look at people's reactions to when they hear stocks, shares, APO, there's almost a feeling of
Yes.
fear
Yes.
in the eyes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
And you know why that is?
and a sense of though.
Well, because there's so much mystery around money and stocks and shares.
Yes,
Those
correct,
words, people
correct,
find them
correct.
intimidating. And so, one of the
Exactly.
reasons I'm glad you were the person that FCB suggested talk to us is that from the time I was back then, you would talk about money and finance in ways that just made it very accessible and easy for me to understand. So,
Yeah.
help dispel the fear. Help dispel the fear.
No, of course, of course. And so I guess the first thing is that I'm glad we're even having this conversation, because having this conversation means that there's been a level of maturity in terms of as a society.
Yeah.
Because if I rewind to even past its current events, there was always a feeling of, okay, yes, we could there'll be old talk in society. Yes, we could talk about politics. Yes, we could talk about sports and bacchanal. But when it came to money, the questions were asked, or the right questions were asked.
Correct. The right
Now I
questions.
find, yeah, the right questions were asked. So now, though, I have to give the society lots of credit, because the questions are better and different and richer, and that means that we've come a long way. So in terms of taking us back to the opportunity, this is an opportunity to purchase First Citizens shares. Now, this is the third time we have been coming to market to offer shares. The first time would have been a couple of years ago in our initial public offering. And the language, finance folk, we're not that savvy. So we're not the marketing folk who come up with fancy names for things. When we call something, it is what it is. So when we say initial public offering, it really means the first time. So the first time we've offered shares. Now this is an additional public offering. That's what APO stands for. And all it really means is another time we come in again. So, but in any of those scenarios, the core reason is the same, in that there's an opportunity for folks just like ourselves to find a way to grow your families and individuals' wealth. And this happens in two different ways. So either from the share appreciating over time, or from dividend income being earned as we pay dividends. So if someone who would have, and these are real numbers I'm going to talk about now. So someone who would have invested in our initial public offering at $22 a share, their money, their money, their money, their money, right? So
My,
someone who would have invested
my
at
pocket looking nice. My pocket looking
very
nice.
good, very good,
I'm
very
not
good,
going to
very good,
complain. And that's why I
very
just
good.
preach the gospel of FCB shares, because
Excellent.
the first time around I did it like not well immediately, not knowing as much as I needed to know. But of course, when I went into
Yeah.
FCIS, they talked me through the thing, right? And
Excellent, excellent.
Jason, I'm not gonna lie. When they said to me that I was going to be getting dividends on a quarterly basis, I
Yeah.
was just thinking, well, all right, it might be like a $40 or $50 in terms of the
Right.
dividends, right? So when
Right.
I get my bank statement and I see in this extra
Excellent.
money in, I was like, where does this come from? Right? Where does the money coming from that going? Because I was worried. I'm thinking, who's
Right,
sending me
right.
money and I don't know where this money coming from, and suppose I have to give back the money, right? So when I eventually
gosh.
realized, oh wait, is my investment that making this
Yeah.
kind of money and putting it into my savings to me? After that, total convert.
Yes.
Wherever FCB
Yes,
selling, I day.
Well, I definitely have some calls to give to you after this.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you're speaking from your own experience, because part of what I found is that there's still a narrative out there where some people think, let me keep it under the mattress. And actually, that's part of the reason why we are doing this, because I wouldn't want someone to think that position themselves in a place of fear versus position themselves in a place of opportunity and growth.
Well,
Because
here's one of the things. I'm glad you talk about the mattress thing, right? The
yeah,
people who want to keep their money under the mattress, it is as a result of thinking, because it's shares, something could go wrong and I could lose my investment.
Right.
So I think
Yes.
you need to
Yes.
let the public know how protected the FCB share is.
No, great question. So I'll address it in two ways. One is, let's talk about the fair aspect first.
Sure.
So First Citizens Group has been around for almost 30 years. We talked about you and I and how far back. I mean, First Citizens a little younger than us, I think. But but over those 30 years, and we're celebrating the 30th year next year, so we're going to have a couple of things coming out to celebrate with our customers and shareholders.
Nice.
But over that time, different economic cycles have happened.
Yeah.
We've had recessions, we've had good times, we've definitely had challenging times.
Yes.
But First Citizens as an organization is still here. And it's still here and has grown considerably over those 30 years. So over those 30 years, the organization has expanded into the Eastern Caribbean, has expanded into Barbados, has expanded into Costa Rica. People don't realize that. We have a significant base of operations, almost 2,000 employees. And over that time as well, too, we've consistently paid dividends to our shareholders, just like yourself. So that experience you've had, other shareholders have had. And beyond that, we were voted safest bank in the Western Hemisphere by the Banker magazine. No, so that wasn't a I didn't misspeak there. And I said Western Hemisphere. I meant Western Hemisphere.
I know.
So safest
North,
bank, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Not CARICOM, not the Caribbean.
North America,
Western
Caribbean,
exactly.
Latin America. Yes.
Perfect. So I know some people, it's been a while since we've talked about geography, so you might miss it. But this is not only in the Caribbean. We're talking about safest bank in the whole hemisphere. And what that is measured against is against the size of our capital base. We have a significant capital base, which allows us a couple of things. One, to weather economic cycles, and two, prepare for growth. So our ambitions have been publicly declared. I think anyone following the news would have seen my CEO openly talk about the ambitions.
Yeah.
We've talked about expanding into Jamaica. We've talked about expanding into Guyana. And there are things happening in that regard to help achieve those ambitions. But the capital that we have has allowed us those two things. One, to weather economic storms and to be prepared for economic growth. So, and we continue to succeed over this long cycle of 30 years and more. And the other aspect of the under the mattress is what you're missing out on. Because I always tell people, we work hard.
Yeah.
We work very hard to earn a living. Your money should work just as hard. So when your money is under the mattress, is more resting than working. And I think that we have to address that as well too.
Good. I have plenty questions coming in on this stream here.
Okay.
So let me start to hit you the questions on them one time.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Right?
Nice.
So Vonette Bigford wants to know. She says she doesn't have an account.
Oh, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Vonette, by the way.
We go fight. I just say we go fight. All right. So we go fight off air, right? Off air we go fight. Right. She wants to know.
Oh, that's an excellent question.
Excellent question.
So I'm seeing it on the screen, right?
Good.
Oh, excellent question. And thank Vonetta, thank you. I wish I could have paid a single question, but I'll read it on the screen. So I don't have an account here if you need an account. And the short answer is this. So there's some. So let me clarify one thing. You don't need to be a First Citizens customer to be a First Citizens shareholder, right? So this offering is available to all members of the public, and there's no minimum in terms of number of shares to purchase. So you could literally come and buy one share if you liked.
Nice.
So that's one aspect. The other thing is that the way the stock exchange works, you need a brokerage account. So the same way how you have a bank account, and your bank account you deposit cash and your money into, a brokerage account you deposit the shares into. That's in your name. You get statements. It's very transparent and very clear what you own. Now, a brokerage account costs $0 and can be opened at any stockbroker. We at First Citizens have First Citizens Investment Services, First Citizens Brokerage and Advisory Services. But you could go to any stockbroker and you could easily open an account. We've tried to make the process as painless as possible. And we've put a lot of information on our website, firstcitizensgroup.com. So with a nice checklist, and also we've done some online portals to make it easy for you to get your account open, to get an appointment, and to subscribe for the shares.
Okay.
So I have to thank Bona for that wonderful question.
Right. So just walk us through the steps again. If I want to buy shares, there's no limit to how many shares I can purchase.
No,
I can purchase
no
just
limit.
one share. I can
If you like.
Right. I can purchase just one, or I can purchase way more than one.
Correct.
I have to set up a brokerage account. If I don't already have a
Yes,
brokerage account,
yes,
I set up
exactly.
one. I can choose to use your brokerage service, or I can use
Correct.
any other brokerage service.
Exactly.
And once I've set up that brokerage service, how exactly am I paying for the shares? Like, how am I getting the
Right.
shares?
Perfect question. Oh gosh. So once the brokerage account is set up, it now means we have an account by which we could put these shares into in your name. There's a process to apply for the shares, or we call subscribe for the shares. It's a form that has to be completed. It's some basic information, name, address, and your bank account. Reason why your bank account is akin to your experience, where we pay the dividends into that bank account. So we no longer have to write a check. You'll see the dividends magically appear in your account when we pay dividends. So it's have a very painless, frictionless process.
Yes.
So the application for the shares is simple. You complete the form, name, your address, bank account number, and of course the most important part really is how many shares you want to purchase. I want to determine those factors. The advisors will receive the application form, and when the offer is closed, and it's going to close on July 22nd, when the offer is closed, we then tabulate all of the subscriptions received, and we allocate in proportion to the demand that we received.
Okay, good. So there's another question here from Stacy
Sure.
Mitchell. Stacy is saying that she appreciates that we're having this conversation, but she was wondering if you could have customer service reps for brokerage at the various branches. So do you have something like that at the various branches?
Oh gosh. So to be quite honest, Stacey, I wish we could have had it perfectly like that. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but with the way the regulations are set up right now, we have to have a distinction between what the bank as a banking institution does versus what the investment company does. So what we've been approved to do is we've been allowed to have the branches. You could drop off your subscription form at any First Citizens branch. But in terms of getting financial advice or talking to an advisor, unfortunately, you're going to have to talk to an advisor at the brokerage company. And that could be arranged either over the phone, via email, or in person with an appointment. All the branches are allowed to do by regulation is just collect the information as an agent, but they are not allowed to give advice in the branch.
Okay, all right. And I'm sure that is linked to legislation. So
Yeah, it's
Jack,
rules. The rules.
Yeah, I know it's rules. Malcolm Jack has a
Yeah.
question. He wants to know, would the stock price of shares purchased in
Oh.
the IPO be impacted by the APO?
That's an excellent question. And that's what goes back to, I find the quality of questions has improved in our lifetime. So Malcolm, excellent question. So just to recap for everyone. So at the IPO, the price was $22. Today, the price is circa $50. So that means anyone who would have invested in the IPO has seen their money more than double, right? So 22 double at 44, and we're at 50, right? So part of the answer is the current market price and what is being offered is already higher than the IPO price, meaning that so if you invested at the IPO price, your wealth has increased over time. So that's part of the impact. Beyond that, really, the current offer price is reflective of the demand and the prospect for the organization today. So technically, there's no direct impact on the price being offered today, other than the increase in your wealth from when you would have purchased at $22.
Okay, I have two questions. I
Sure.
have more questions here, but let me add it to the broadcast. Tanil Mitchell is saying she's a student who's abroad outside of Trinidad and Tobago. How does she go about purchasing shares, for example, things like signing documents, etc.? And it's
No, that's an
also a
excellent
question.
question.
It's also a question from Candice Bean. She's asking the same thing. She says, "I'm a trainee abroad. How do I connect with a broker to open an account?"
No, excellent, excellent, excellent. So both Candice and Tanil, yes,
Yeah.
we've have a process designed for that. What I'll ask is that go on the website firstcitizensgroup.com, make an appointment with one of our brokers, and they're actually going to walk you through your particular circumstances. So the reason why I'm answering it that way is that there may be nuances in each of those scenarios that may be particular to them. But we have a process available for interested investors outside of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, great. So, Ms. Val Walcott wants to know what are the requirements to open a brokerage account?
Excellent question. So the requirements are, I was joking with someone, banks these days, all financial institutions these days, we are actually the same laundry list of things. Your two forms of ID, if your proof of address, utility bill, job letter. So those basic, what we call know your customer documents, those basic documents are what you need to open a brokerage account, including having a bank account. And as I mentioned, the bank account is needed so that we can pay the dividends into. If you want to have the detailed checklist, we put that online as well too, so you can print it out and have it in hand. It's firstcitizensgroup.com, but it's two forms of ID, proof of address, job letter, and your bank account details.
Okay. Michelle Paula Barton Romeo is saying that one particular broker told her that it might be too late to open an account now in order to reach the July 22nd deadline. How somebody
Right.
wants
So
to
I could bet money that particular broker was not First Citizens Brokerage and Advisory Services, right? So what I suggest to her is that, and oh gosh, and I don't want to throw my colleagues under the bus, but essentially, we still opening accounts. I think it may be simpler for other brokers to just receive the funds and do the subscriptions, because it's a little additional extra work to actually open the account. Not for the customer, but for us. But at First Citizens Broker and Advisory, you can have the account open. We have an account appointment process to kind of manage the crowds in the branches. So please go on firstcitizensgroup.com. There's a portal. You could actually book an appointment on the portal, and they give you a code and a date and a time, and someone will follow up with you.
Okay. Petra Williams and Alana Morton are asking the same question. They want to know if they need to work with a manager's check or if they can work with cash.
Definitely a check, and it's a security issue, right? So we wouldn't want a scenario where you have people working with tons of cash, and primarily because it's a lot easier for us to trace the checks and to reconcile the checks. So the process is set up such a way that you have to use a check.
Right. And I understand why. I can explain to them why.
Yeah.
Because it's a certain number of shares you guys are selling.
Correct.
Not everybody is going to get the exact number of shares that they have bid for.
Exactly.
So let's say I want 20,000 shares or $20,000 worth of shares, but I'm only allocated $15,000 worth of shares. FCB has to return the $5,000 that it doesn't actually use up in shares. So that's why it needs to be done in check form, so you could trace the money, track the money, and get the money back. All right. Good.
Oh gosh.
Did I do well there?
I feel that's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah, I remember that because the last time I actually had cash and they was like, no, check. So I went and I got the check. Oh, I should ask this. Can I just go to UTC and get a UTC check and walk with a UTC check?
Right. So what we've done is that there's a specific name the check must be made out to. I think we're asking for the manager's check in particular. In the process, but it's an excellent question. But I want to say that we've limited it only to managers' checks.
So managers' checks come from banks.
Yes.
Right.
So I guess that part of it is that it helps with the whole compliance process. But unfortunately, and I could talk to my colleagues, of course, when I come offline if there's a way we can vary that.
I was gonna say, let's talk with your colleagues offline, because I'm thinking if people go to credit unions or to UTC to get cash from there,
good points.
You can ask the credit union and you can ask UTC to make the check out to the entity. So let's find out and we clarify, right?
Yeah, and what I'll do is we will update any information we have online to make
Sure.
that clear as
Yeah,
well
yeah.
too. So that they can always refer to online afterwards, so we can make sure it's very clear.
Right. So Tay Martinez is asking, is there any centralized banks to go to buy shares or any FCB branch? So let's just clear that up for the
Right.
audience.
Oh, so Tay, excellent question. So how it works is that there's a subscription form that you complete. That subscription form, you basically declare how many shares you would like to bid for. Rhoda did an excellent job in terms of describing that process. And the branches really are meant to be collection centers for those forms. So you could walk into any First Citizens branch and you could drop off the form. This, of course, the assumption there is that you already have the prerequisite is that you must have a brokerage account. So if you didn't have a brokerage account before, we could help you through that process. There's no centralized bank. I think that's the first part of the question. You could actually drop off the form at any stockbroker or any bank branch of First Citizens.
Right. Good. I'm seeing Ayoka Trim is saying that she has a brokerage account already and she's been
Right.
trying
Okay.
to get through to
Right.
FCIS since last
Oh, gosh.
Friday, but she's not been able to. She's waiting on a return call. So what's the
Okay.
deal there?
Oh, okay. So if she already has a brokerage account, well, actually, her life is very simple in that she could actually go online. There's a subscription application process online, or if she wanted to, she could print out the forms and drop it off at any bank branch. So most likely, if she's trying to call on the phone, is because the persons who are in the branch are dealing with new people who know trying to create brokerage accounts.
Okay.
Versus people in her scenario where you already have an account, you're ready just fill out the subscription form.
Right. So like me, if I want to, I can just go
Yeah.
and fill out the subscription form. Good.
Correct.
Joel Joseph Daniel asks, can you use a credit union account instead of a savings account for where the
Right.
dividends go
The dividends.
to? Yeah.
No, and I guess Joel, part of the reason why is that we've been so all banks are kind of connected for transfers, so it's very simple for us to transfer intra-bank, and they could trace easily the bank account number, and we know we have our own internal compliance processes between each in the banking system. We haven't set it up in such a way to send it to the credit union. So I have to say I'm sorry, Joel, but unfortunately, no. The way we've set up right now is that the difference will be sent to a bank account.
Vera Bethel is asking something that's interesting here. She wants to know, after the initial investment, so the first time she buys
That's
shares,
a good question.
can she add
Right.
it?
Right. So I'm gonna try and make sure I understand the question. So if Vera meant if she already has First Citizen shares, well then yes, you could buy more shares.
No, I know
If
what she
Vera
means.
meant
Let me explain what she
yeah,
means.
right.
Because I had this question.
She already
and
applied. She already applied.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So she's already applied and she's also wanting to know, because this is a question I had asked with the IPO. After I
Right.
buy shares, let's say I buy 10,000 shares. Remember, that was the initial
Right.
offering and everybody would have
Correct.
purchased up the shares.
Correct.
How then
Yeah.
do I get more shares? So let's say in 2 months' time, right? So I put down money
gosh.
on the APO now. The cutoff
Right.
date pass after the 22nd of
July
July.
22nd.
Right. Then the master of coin pay me a little back pay, so I get kakada in hand. Right? And I have
In your case, it's master of dollars.
exactly. And so now I thinking I have more money. I want to put more money in shares, but the APO, has already closed off. How does
Right.
somebody get more shares after an APO has closed off?
Right. So that's excellent. So if that's Vera's question, then essentially she could purchase the shares on the stock exchange at the prevailing market price.
Right.
So right now the offer is at a specific price. So $50. No matter if you go anytime you go before July 22nd, that price is not going to change.
Right.
It's going to be $50.
Right.
After July 22nd, when the offer is closed, if she wanted to buy more shares, she would have to pay whatever the price is on the market, and that could be $52, it could be $53, it could be $55. So it means that yes, she could purchase more shares, but she'd have to purchase at the current market price, which may not be the $50.
Correct. Okay. And On the off chance that her question was if she had purchased from the IPO, can she purchase on the APO? Yes, she can.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Good.
Now there's another scenario which she can mean, which also could mean that if she between now and July 22nd, if she sent in a subscription form, because we had customers this happened to,
Right.
they send in a subscription form and say, okay, you know what, I want to buy 100 shares. I want to buy 100 shares. You've added up your money, 100 shares. And then on July 20th, you realize, oh gosh, I got to pay. You know, I can afford more. I want to buy 150 shares.
Right.
Well, then there's also a process for that. And the answer is yes, you can actually withdraw the original form and resubmit with the adjusted amount.
Okay.
But they would have to be before the deadline of July 22nd.
Okay. There's another great question here. Derek Richardson is asking if associations like groups, entities can purchase shares, or are the shares
Yes.
only allowed to be purchased by
You know,
individuals?
so there's a specific category allowed for companies and associations.
Okay.
So yes, the short answer is yes. But of course, what Derek would have to be careful with is that making sure the association's information is clear. Who could sign on the behalf, if the association has a bank account, who the directors are. Because remember, that's where it gets a little tricky, because when he submits the form, we have to say, well, these people are authorized to sign on the form.
Okay. Rosanna Glasgow asks, what about retirees without job letters?
No, that's fine. So the job letter, of course, is if you're employed. We have investors who are self-employed. We have investors who are entrepreneurs. We have investors who are housewives and house husbands. So yes, there's a process for if you're a retiree. Of course, just declare that you're a retiree, and we will guide you as to what you put on the form.
Okay. All right. I'm just checking through to see if there are other questions. Folks are wondering if they open a brokerage account today or tomorrow, will they still be in time to meet the July 22nd deadline?
And the short answer is yes. So the team, and this part of the reason why the young lady who tried to call on the line may not have gotten through, is that they've been working 24 hours a day to get all the brokerage accounts open. So the short answer is yes. We are doing all that we can to ensure that everyone who's interested, we are ensuring that you get your account open in time.
Prince Augustine wants to know how often are dividends paid.
Right. So what we do, Prince, is that as you can imagine, we distribute at least twice a year, and we aim for quarterly. So what that means is that as we declare our financial statements on a quarterly basis, so you can see the performance of First Citizens, and it's very transparent. If you go online right now on our website, you can get all the annual reports and quarterly information, and you'll also see when we declare the dividend notice. So the next dividend payment will come at the end of this financial year, which will be financial year ends at September. So the financial accounts will come out after that, so like October, November.
Okay.
So at least, yeah.
Well, I just see money about 3 times for the year, right? I'm
Yeah.
just telling you, that's my experience. About 3 times for the year, money to show up, and I just be like, oh, okay, nice. There are a couple other questions. People are wondering if they're not employed, but can they still, open up a brokerage account and
Yeah, of
purchase
course,
shares?
of course. So you have scenarios where students, persons who may have recently been retrenched and would receive a severance pay or a lump sum. They wouldn't be employed, and of course, yes, they'll be entertained. What they would have to be,
There's a
what
lady
they would
who's
have to
saying she's
have,
a
of course,
housewife, for instance, and she's
right?
like,
Yes,
what about a
yes.
housewife who isn't working?
Definitely. So housewives, house husbands, all will be entertained. There's just a slightly different process in terms of what you have to declare, and as part of the New Year customer process.
Okay. Are personal checks accepted?
No, because the problem is that it will make it very difficult for what's to validate if the check will not bounce, right? So you wouldn't want a scenario where at the end of the process your check bounces on July 23rd and you get nothing as a result. So to save, and then we have the difficulty of then having to get get back to you, follow up on our next. So to save all that, it really demands check is the cleanest process for all involved.
Right. I'm seeing Corinne Oxley saying here that she's already done her process online, and you can bring a UTC, a check from
excellent.
UTC, but you must bring the UTC receipt as well along with the check.
Oh gosh,
Right?
well, thank you, Corinne. Corinne, I'm glad that you chimed in, because clearly my team is a lot smarter than I am in terms of they would have covered that already. So Corinne, thank you so much. I
And
really appreciate that.
Janelle Hill says she knows of a friend who got a check from the credit union, right? So,
So Ruda, I love our listeners. I love our listeners.
yes, they're very proactive on this live. The New Source followers are very proactive. Okay, all right. Let me see if there are any other questions. Janelle Hills is also asking if it makes sense to have more than one brokerage account. So I don't know. Does it make a difference?
Honestly, there's no advantage to it. It is administratively for you as a person. It may be more difficult. Only, I guess, if you have a particular reason why you want it that way. But there's no value added, because a brokerage account is it doesn't matter which institution. It's still in your name, and you have a unique code with the stock exchange. The only benefit, I guess, is if you wanted to have maybe one that you maybe wanted to have jointly in some form or fashion with your husband, or your parents, and then have a separate one in addition to that. But beyond that, I think I can't see administratively there's no real benefit.
Okay.
And sorry, just one last thing. And for the folks, sorry, Rhoda, for the folks thinking of having two accounts, what could get difficult for you in the future? And this is something to think about.
Sure.
If you ever wanted to consolidate the two accounts into one account, you may have to, because the stock exchange is going to recognize this as two different account numbers. They may have transfer fees in the future. So just to be careful administratively, it could, unless you have a particular objective in mind as to why, it could become difficult.
All right, Jason.
Sorry, I know you're asking a question.
No, that's fine. Can you repeat the website address, because there are persons asking for the website address?
So firstcitizensgroup.com. I really hope I got that right. So firstcitizensgroup.com. And I know if I got it wrong, somebody will chime in by now.
It's actually, let me share it to the broadcast, because
there you go. Wow.
firstcitizensgroup.com/TT/additional public offering of shares. I tell you, my audience is
wow. Wow. I am very, very impressed. Very impressed.
Monifi, thank you very much for putting the link in the comment thread. Somebody is asking here, can they purchase shares for their children on behalf of their children?
So excellent question. So we get that question all the time. The answer is yes. Administratively, there'd be one additional step you may have to have. For example, the same children, so I'm assuming it's minors. Okay, you can have adult children, right?
Yeah.
So if I assume it's a minor, the minor, of course, can't sign on the account, right? So as a parent, those will be one of the scenarios where you could end up having multiple brokerage accounts. If you as a parent knew that, listen, account number XYZ123 was for John, and account number XYZ124 was for Sally, well then those multiple accounts could work, but you will also have to do the additional step on your will side to make sure that their family is clear which one is for who. Because if they are minor, they wouldn't be able to sign on the account.
Okay. Someone is asking if you can remind them what is the exact name the check should be made out to.
A great question. So it should be, Eagle. So it should be First Citizens Group Financial Holdings APO, and oh gosh, this will be one of those things where somebody's gonna pull it up on the screen.
Just repeat it. First Citizens Group.
Oh gosh, first. So it's unfortunately is an acronym. So I'm trying to abbreviate it in my head.
Sorry. FCG. No, let me help you out, Jason.
Yeah, so
let me help you out, Jason.
FCGFHLAPO.
FCGFHLAPO.
Right. Correct.
Listen,
Right.
my
Oh,
audience
Debbie, you
on
see?
top. My audience is on top of things.
So Debbie, I have to thank you because I literally just pulled the prospectus to read to make sure I could abbreviate it properly, because in my head I'm saying First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, and it took me 2 seconds, and this is where the age showing.
Yeah.
So it took me 2 seconds to abbreviate that.
Yes. So
Debbie, thanks a
FCG.
million.
Yeah, FCG,
Right, right.
FHL, APO. Debbie, thank you so much for putting that
Oh my
information
God,
there.
I have to say this has been the most engaged group of listeners I've ever had.
Yeah. Good. So, Jason, I want to wrap things up because I know you have other interviews to go and do. Can you explain to my audience how these shares function as collateral, please? Because for me, that's
Of course.
that's one of the nicest parts about purchasing these shares to me.
Of course. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the basic fact that this is a valuable asset. This is a valuable asset. So the shares have dollar value attached to them. That's one. Two, the shares are marketable, meaning that, let's say, and bear with me, Rhoda, right?
Yeah,
So let's
yeah,
say
take it
the
in.
same way how you'd wanna your car has value, your house has value. What makes this marketable is the fact that if you have to sell your car today, it's gonna take a couple of weeks, right? If you have to sell your house today, it may take a couple of months, at least 3 months,
Yeah.
right? If you have to sell these shares today, you can sell it by tomorrow.
Like that.
So
Like
exactly,
that.
and then exactly, and then so the shares become cash again, right? The same way how your car could become cash, your house could become cash. So those features, it being valuable and it being marketable, it means that you have something of worth, just like how the bank could ask you for your mortgage, your house as the collateral for a mortgage, or your car as the collateral for a car loan. The shares could become collateral for lending.
And
right?
what I also want to add to what Jason is saying there is, when I bought the shares, they were $22 a share. The shares are
Yes.
now worth double that. So
Yes.
it's collateral that shows potential. So anywhere you
Right,
go, when you say
right.
to them, I have shares and we can use the shares as collateral, people get very excited. Oh, you have shares?
Yes.
Okay, good. Right? So I think it's useful for people to know that. Oh, one last question. Joanne
No,
Lewis.
I have all the time for you.
Joanne Lewis wants to know if FCB's brokerage account facilitates
good
purchase
question.
of foreign shares.
That's an excellent question. So, Joanne, so the short answer is no, because the way the stock exchange works is that the brokerage account is specific to the stock exchange. So the brokerage account we're referring to, it allows you to buy and sell shares on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. We have another type of account which allows you to buy shares anywhere you will, right? You can buy it in the what is on the news at night, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500.
And
We
NYSE.
have
Yeah.
a NYSE. You know, we have another facility that allows you to be able to purchase and trade, and even trade online any share you will. So it's two different things, but we offer both facilities at First Citizens Brokerage and Advisory.
Now with the First Citizens Brokerage and Advisory account, right? With the First Citizens Brokerage account, they can trade on the Trinidad Stock Exchange, right? They can buy and sell shares on that stock exchange.
Yes. So thanks for saying that, Rhoda, because it just to be clear, so not only for First Citizens shares.
Good.
You could buy other companies' shares as well. So you could buy more First Citizens shares or sell. You could also buy and sell other companies' shares as well that are listed on Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange.
Good. And the last thing I want to say here, and I'll get to the thank yous just now, is that for me, one of the reasons I was happy to purchase the shares when I purchased the shares in the IPO, yes, of course, collateral, good investment, etc. But FCB is an indigenous bank. It's state owned, and it gives me the opportunity to invest in something in the country, and have a say in something that is happening here in the country. So for me, as we head in towards like emancipation and independence and thing, right? I want to make a
Right.
plug for doing things that feed back into your society and to your country, because FCB is a national bank, it's an indigenous bank.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? That isn't only in name.
No.
It is in practice. It's in practice. If you and I mean, oh gosh, the list is so long, from the sports awards to festivals, to youth development, to girls first, to some of our young men initiatives, to what we do in Tobago. So there is no shortage of us putting our money where our mouth is. This is home.
Yes. Yep.
This is home.
Yep.
And because this is home, we have to treat home a certain way. So we truly believe that our communities and our communities have to be supported. And right now, if you go online, we have a whole call for action where we invite in different stakeholders, because we realize that we are really good with money. We are really good with investing. We're really good with making money, make more money. But we've recognized that we don't always have the answer as to where is the greatest need. So we've done well in the past in terms of finding needs and helping support those needs. So there's a call for action that's going on right now, and we've branded it community, and you're going to see a lot of information come out about it in the public space. We're asking you all, tell us, from sports to gender to community to those in need, tell us where the need is and how we could help. And we have if you go online, there's a section called community where we're asking for that feedback, so we could know how to support.
Okay, great. And I'm glad that the audience had an opportunity to hear that from you, Jason. So, Jason, thank you so much for the time this afternoon.
Pleasure.
I bring in you back because I didn't realize that through FCB I could be traded on other stock exchanges, and I want I want to have a conversation about trading on our stock exchange and trading on other stock exchanges, right? So I'll bring you back for that conversation.
Happy to do that.
Great.
Happy to do that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Pleasure as always, my friend.
All right, my
have
dear.
a great day.
Take care. Have a great day.
All the best, everyone.
Yep.
And I really appreciate the engagement.
Not a problem at all. Take care. Bye.
Have a great one, okay?
So, folks, that was Jason Julien, Deputy Group CEO, Deputy Group CEO for business development and business generation. I hope you all learned a lot about investments, how to go about setting up your brokerage account, how to go about purchasing shares. I hope you understand that even though this APO ends on the 22nd of July, it's not just for First Citizens shares. It's not just First Citizen shares that you could be using your brokerage account for. You can start thinking about if you want to purchase other types of shares, other shares that are available on the local stock exchange, the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. You could talk to people at the brokerage to find out which shares performing well and purchase some of those shares and use them as collateral, keep them as investments. The dividends on them just come in nice. Every couple months you just get some money inside your account. So I hope you all appreciated and enjoyed this little session that we had here, because I really wanted to talk about how to go about investing in this APO specifically, and how to go about investing generally. So I hope you're capable of taking your cents, your 5 cents, your 10 cents, your dollars, and making it into big money investments. Take care, folks. I'll see you all later on in the week. All right? Bye.